Hello and welcome to Dateline New Haven. I'm your host, Paul Bass, inviting you to look behind the headlines on the stories that make New Haven tick. It's ticking because it's Pundit Friday. Pundit Friday, which begins here in the WNHH studio with the #1 pundits in the media university, like dairy-free goddess of our grassroots radio operation, the hardest working woman in New Haven radio, Babs Rawls-Ivy, the editor of the Inner City News. How you doing, Babs? This is the end of a long week. We've been listening to you every day. Friday's your 3-hour stretch. Oh. Not just playing music, Babs. You do the interviewing, you do the throwing down. We got the Queen of Quippery and the Quintessence of Compassion, La Voz Hispana publisher, Norma Rodriguez-Reyes.
Hola.
We got the flyest hunter-gatherer, news hunter-gatherer this side of Fleet Street, star New Haven reporter, independent reporter Markeisha Ricks.
Was otherwise indisposed currently.
We got the preordained pastor and prophet of paradise. We got the bright light in the New Haven night.
What?
We got the liberated line of lucidity, the alchemist of assonance, the blistering barbecue of brain-dead bozos, the chess master of chill, primo practitioner of pop prestidigitation, the beyond just somewhat honorable high priest of hip-hop, Joe Ugly.
That one doesn't fit very well.
Uh-oh. I got half of my...
They're all quiet.
I got half of my... by the way, we can't hear.
That's because you need headphones. Okay. All right.
Oh, okay. There they are.
Well, Joe Ugly, welcome.
Oh, thank you.
And Harry Droz is going to be joining us in a minute, WNHH station manager and heavy Donald Trump over there. I thought I was going to start with Harry Droz because of the weather and what happened with his tires.
Turn it down.
So hopefully Harry will be in a minute to talk about that. What'd you think about the snow, folks? It's 5 weeks until winter.
Oh,
and last night
weeks?
we had a winter storm. It was really fun. I walked home through it last night and rush hour. And boy, people are having trouble driving. I guess when it's not during regular winter.
People couldn't get up the hill in the
Whaley.
village. Yeah, on Whaley. So my bus pulled over, so I got out and walked the rest of the way. Like it pulled over next to the cemetery. And so I just walked.
As long as you don't fall and crack your ribs when you're an old man like me, it's really fun to walk through the snow.
Did that happen to you for
last winter? Remember?
Year.
Yeah, last winter. Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
But I love walking the snow. Like everyone's having trouble driving, I'll be worried they're gonna crash into things. But it's so beautiful when the snow comes.
It was really pretty.
Yeah.
Even though a lot of people did not shovel their sidewalks this morning.
I didn't
they went
because
off
I thought the rain was gonna wash it away because it got warm.
It did not. It might melt tonight, but
it's like gonna be 40s today.
There was no.
My son shoveled, so I was very happy about that.
I'm guilty because my neighbors did shovel.
A lot of your neighbors did not. In my part of the neighborhood,
how did you get
them
to shovel for you? How do you get your sons
they want
to
eat
because they want to eat and live in the house.
Exactly.
So much.
You know what? I agree with you, Norma. It's like today. I remember I used to go out. 2 snowflakes. I'm out there with a shovel, you know. But my son.
You could break your shovel that way.
True.
2 snowflakes.
But my son, I swear to God, I don't think he ever shoveled once in his entire life.
But that's your fault.
It is.
No, it's because
totally
you're living up there in the 30th floor.
him and you sent him all the way to Yale. Look at that.
All right. So
yeah.
He owes you. You should come shovel your snow right now.
What a news week it was. So much going on in New Haven, and the elections are over, including Ned Lamont, the governor-elect. He did pick a couple of sort of New Haven people. They don't live here.
Sort of.
Yeah, because they don't live here. They don't live here.
New Haven.
Ouch.
But he has a transition team, which I think is just window dressing anyway for every politician. He has his little group of smart-ass white boys who think they know everything or really running the shop. No, they are.
Y'all, Paul is in a mood.
No. They've been like trying to give us attitude, like the Donald Trump saying that if we don't control the press, we're gonna like send you guys in exile. And we'll see how that works.
Serious?
Yeah, that's okay. That's how they work. But he does name a transition team to make it look like he has people, from the whole community helping him out. And he announced it at Gateway yesterday, Gateway Community College, and he had 8 white people around him, and he said we have the most diverse transition team in the history. But he had a lot of people who weren't there who are of color.
Okay.
One of them is George Perez, who was the president of the New Haven Board of Alders.
George Perez, I gotta work.
Of color?
He's Cuban, American.
And now lives in Cheshire?
Yeah, he doesn't live in New Haven, but he was the president of the Board of Alders, and his family's still here.
That's like saying Marco Rubio is, is a person of color. Are you
No,
serious?
George definitely is. That's not fair.
Is he?
That's
Is
not
he?
nice. He's always been involved with the Latino community.
Okay,
You know that.
I'll let Norma tell me.
Oh, Norma, you're saying George isn't Latino?
No.
No. There was a time.
Right.
Okay. See, let me tell you guys something.
Yes, ma'am.
The truth is that the Puerto Ricans are held to a totally different standard than everybody else. Okay.
What's that?
When it comes to Tommy Reyes in Candelaria, you know, all the Puerto Ricans used to come and beat up on them and say, you're doing nothing for our community.
You're talking about former
Yet
alders
they never
and chief of
held
staff and
that.
state rep.
They never did that to Georgie Perez.
Oh, okay.
They never said, you have to help us move forward.
Right.
What's this all about?
Right.
George was like the president of the board of alders. He's the bank commissioner. You went up there
What
excited
does
when
that
he
got
got
to do
picked.
with anything?
Yeah. What's the gripe with George?
No,
Because
no.
he's Cuban American.
No, to
Paul,
you.
what
Paul,
now?
what does that got to do with anything?
I'm
giving
trying to
back the
understand what
community?
Norma's saying.
No,
What's the
my whole
rap?
thing, I think at one time when he first started off, he was community until he got to a certain place.
Hey,
then you
use
forget
them
about the
steps, right?
community.
Use them steps.
So, you know,
Right.
to me, when is
Whoa,
it?
you're throwing shade on Georgie.
No, I'm
No,
not throwing
she's
shade
not.
on,
I'm
on
just-
Georgia. I'm just
You're
know
saying he
what?
forgot the community.
That-
No.
No.
Listen, see, this is the thing. This is what happens when white people don't get in.
Yeah, I don't get it.
Right.
You're
You
right.
don't get it. You
I
don't
don't
get
get
it.
it. Yeah,
but
I don't
we
get it.
already know what time it is.
Exactly.
And it's hard to explain
And you know what's really
what that
something
dynamic
here?
is.
What's really something is I was hearing exactly. That's why I I turned the mic to Norma to let her,
Yeah.
to let someone from the community itself, because I heard it from the community that he was not really part of the Latino community recently in the last 10, 15 years, even longer, some would say.
Wow.
So I'm just saying, I mean,
Was that because he's Cuban American
No,
and not
what
Puerto
happened
Rican?
was-
You
when
can't
we
call him
fought for
Jorge
him-
Perez. I know
there you
that.
go.
You know, when we fought for him, when we took the Stefano
Yep,
on,
yep.
okay,
So that he'd be president of the
because
Board of Alders.
Stefano took him out as president of the Board of Alders, and then we helped the union take over.
Unite here.
And now what's happened is it's just that we're out there in limbo. You know, no
And-
one is out there fighting for our people and for our causes.
And you're not the first one in the Puerto Rican, Latino, Central America community who's saying exactly what you're saying. I've heard it before out there. Okay, and I was just echoing, and then I found myself just now when I made that comment. I said, maybe I should let Norma say that. And if you had said something different, then I would have just shut
It's
up.
amazing how conversations
But
go on Kind of Friday. I love it. Because I thought I was just thinking about who are the nice appointments of faces of color that Ned
It's
Lamont put in
amazing.
transition team to pretend he's like got some kind
under
of
the
thing going on.
surface.
Yeah.
But you know what? In all due respect, maybe that's just the way things are supposed to happen.
No.
That you're supposed to start off in the very beginning fighting for your community.
No.
But then when you make it, okay, and especially when you become a commissioner, now they put all kinds of rules and regulations that you're not supposed to be so close.
But that's
you're
not what
supposed
you
to
do.
be fighting for our community. You're not now. You're supposed to be taking care of yourself.
Can I ask him? This
so
is
that you can
She's
protect
being
your job.
sarcastic.
Yeah,
by the
this
way.
has no edge to it, I promise. Honest question. What should George be doing? Like, as banking commissioner, he spends a lot of time going after financial institutions that are defrauding not just the Latino community, but low-income communities. Is that fighting for the community? What
For
should
me,
he be doing?
As when you get up to be in a position of commissioner, you're supposed to try to open doors for your people. Because that's the reason why you were put there in the first place.
Right.
So
You were elevated by the people.
What Latinos have been helped and doors have been opened through. I know that Georgie was very instrumental with the police and the fire when he was an alderman.
Right, he would fight
But
for
then
Latinos to be
what?
hired as
Then
Congress.
what has happened since he became a commissioner?
Norma, can you
How
speak in
has
the
that
mic?
benefited our community?
Right.
Have you asked him like what he's done, like in terms of financial settlements and jobs and things?
You know what? Asking her is like asking her.
It's like asking April Ryan to introduce me to why don't you set up a meeting? Like Trump asked April Ryan to set up a meeting
Yeah,
with
with
the
the
people,
black- with
with
the
the
black.
blacks. I mean,
Really?
Yeah.
It's like, do you know
put-
them? Are you friends? Are you friends?
He really
Yeah.
did that? I thought he was like,
No, he did that. He
He
said
did
that
that. He
to
really
her.
did that.
When she asked him in an actual press situation where she's a part of the press corps asking questions as the press, because she is the press, she asked had he, I think something about reaching out to
Did
the
he reach
Congressional
out to
Black
the-
Caucus. He was
Right.
like, do you know them? He's like, can you set up a meeting?
No,
but
he
that's
said,
not what
you
I was
know-
asking Norma. I was saying she criticized him for not doing something.
That's fine. We
But
can-
I'm asking, does she know if that's true?
Yes, I do know.
You take
it.
the mic. Okay.
Yes, I do know that it is true. You know, I guess I'm just saying that that's probably how it's supposed to be.
No.
Once you get into a certain
That scares me to
position,
even say
okay?
that. To hear you say that scares me, Norma, to be honest. It's not the way it's
But the
supposed to
truth
be.
is that we're held to a different standard.
No, don't let yourself
Okay.
be held to a different standard. Don't. Because if it's one thing I look at, Norma, I look at you, for example, okay? And you're
That's
in a-
true. She always does help people all day and
exactly.
night. I
And
see
you-
that here. Yeah.
You're in a leadership position, but I often see you reaching back into the community. I actually introduced you to someone that you took in, you brought in, at least had an interview or such with an individual, and it was opening an opportunity for them. That I've seen
That's
that
true.
with
You know, I see that
okay?
all day, Joe. It's like
So-
in your office where you have a lot of young African American people coming in, you're teaching them radio. Norma, all day. As young people and older people from the Latino community who are needing help with stuff coming in here, finding stuff for
You just don't stop. You keep trying to help
Norma,
people.
you're
advance.
saying you'd like to see like elected officials who ascend spend their days that way.
What I would like to see is that you don't forget where you came from.
Right.
And especially when the community was there for you. Okay.
Right.
We took on DeStefano for him. Okay. Became enemies of DeStefano for a while. Okay. So now you get in a position and you even move away from the neighborhood and you don't open doors anymore. So, you know, that's
moving
the
away
part.
from the neighborhood is one thing, but forgetting the neighborhood that you move away from is another thing, and that's the dangerous part.
You know,
look, it happened in the black community as well. We have people who have elevated themselves up front, and one of the things I was held up this morning because a kid that was in my program came by to see me this morning and wanted to talk with me, and I was not going to just leave him hanging. He knew my son, and he said, you know, if it's one thing, you know, your son, like, you know, he could have went over there. Could have went across the street there and forget about everybody he knew back in New Haven. He's like, yo, he's like a brother to all of us. And that made me feel so proud to know that he never felt like he has gone so far that he can't reach back. And he actually reached out to people. And to hear someone say that about my child, I was proud about that.
And this started with the Lamont transition team. He does have State Rep Tony Walker as co-chairing the transition team. And he has David Salinas, who runs the district high-tech incubator, on the transition team. And he has Mr. McCarthy, who lives in Bridgeport but is the city's labor relations director on it, among his 20 people. And he thought, do transition teams matter? Do they do real work? Is it just window dressing? What's your guys' take? I'm very cynical about it.
Well, now that it's, you know, it's also white. Transition also white.
No. He's got, what I'm saying is I think about
How many out of that 20?
I think 8. I could be wrong. I think there are 8 people
so why
of color.
isn't it like 19?
All right.
That's a good point.
Like,
why does it
you
got
see
to
what I'm
be
saying? Like, why does
we
it?
filter? Oh, look, we give you 8. Shut up.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, shut up. Why can't it be like, you know what? I want to let my transition team be reflective of why I'm going to go with something.
Yeah.
You know, put that out there. Let it be known that, you know what? I want you to know, New Haven, I appreciate you coming out in strong numbers for me. Look at this. I need you to understand
And my
that
transition
Bridgeport.
team should be heavily New Haven looking.
Yes, exactly.
That's
right.
all I'm saying.
That's all,
All
I'm
right,
saying.
that's what you're saying. And what I'm saying is that listen to Pundit Friday. Pundit Friday and WNHS FM, your home for community radio, 103.5,
Can I
live
have-
streamed in in Pandora. You got the mic.
I would like to ask one question of Harry Jones. Are you holding a grudge against Paul Bass?
What?
Well, you have to explain that.
Why does he look so red on camera?
Well, I don't know.
I have a question for Harry Jones. Okay, now I hope, Harry, you don't mind
I'm
if I
always on
speak out of
camera. I wanna
turn
know
here.
Paul is looking
So we
well.
had weather this week. All
Yes.
right, we had 5 weeks before winter starts. We had a winter storm. Harry Jones was on top of it. If you want to know why this radio station works so well, he's always on top of problems we don't see, and he fixes them before you know there's a problem.
Right.
So he went out and got snow tires. All right.
Yeah.
Before
Next
the snow, we didn't. Our family didn't get it right. So he spent $700. Oh, whoa! You really got some snow tires.
Yeah.
What happened when you were driving here yesterday, Harry, and you were all ready with your snow tires?
Well, I got my brand new snow tires,
Yeah.
and on my way in, coming off of 63, I feel my rear end goes.
Yeah.
Our rear end.
Well, both. But yeah, so it just one of the tires blew, and then I had to wait about an hour and 45 minutes for a tow.
Okay, I'm going to be straight with you. There's something going on with that outfit that you got it from. I'm not going to call
That was
names.
Town
I
Fair
know.
Tires, right?
Okay, there's something going
okay.
on because my son car, I took his car from him because I look at the tires. I'm like, this is ridiculous. I took his car from him for a day. I detailed it. I did the whole works because he's in school. He's running around and he's not paying. I took
I
it
think
up
that's
there.
called helicopter parent. Sorry.
Yeah, that works. You know, because after
'Cause you
next
love him.
when he
Yeah.
graduates, it's over. But you know,
Cut off.
But yeah, but I took him. Went up to Town Fair and I purchased brand new tires. Put 4 new ones on there. Parked the car in the garage. I walk by. I go to get into my car and I'm looking at his car and the front tire is the front side is leaning. Same thing. It's a flat. I go back up there and then actually I had to go and get a fixer flat. Which I had
But
to-
why would that be? Like, I haven't gotten.
It's a default. There's something with their
Because
tires.
tires have gotten better. There are a lot fewer
No.
flat tires in general than the old days. I mean, when we started driving, Joe, we got flat tires all the time, right, Babs?
Oh, no, I didn't get flat tires all the time.
Well,
I didn't
the,
even know what.
the interesting thing is that my wife 2 weeks ago
Yeah.
went and got her snow tires, and she caught a flat the next day.
I'm telling you, there's something.
And I
with it.
hadn't caught a flat.
I got a
in
flat tire too
about
when I
10
got my new
years.
tires put on.
I hadn't caught a flat in like 10 years.
So we're talking
Boy,
about you two
don't
with new
drive that
tires.
much.
No, I don't drive at all, really, but my wife drives.
I was
Those
gonna
are not
say, you know
Michelin
what, don't
tires
get
anymore.
flats.
No.
Feet.
That's right. I got flat feet. But I'm just wondering about new tires with the technology. It sounds like Babs, Joe,
Yeah,
and
y'all
Harry,
all are.
all three of you with the brand new tires. It's such unlucky that there's glass on the street, or what do you think? Did they tell you anything? Did they apologize?
My tire, because I, there was so much construction going on that something got embedded in my new tire.
Well,
So
that's what they
was.
told me
Oh,
because they told me, "Oh, you must have ran over something." I didn't.
Oh
I
no,
ain't ran over nothing.
Here's the excuse I got. The excuse I got is like on those on that type of car, with the aluminum tire, aluminum rims. It must be a crack in the rim. I said,
Slashing up your tires.
I said, excuse me, that would have worked if I came in here with a flat. I came in here with inflated tires. They were just worn, and if they could stay up and they were worn down, the new ones are supposed to stay up.
Hey, you know
as
who
well.
else? You know who else almost got run over?
Who's it?
IKEA. So we got the big IKEA on Long Wharf, right? And they got this historic building. Then when things, because it was ugly in its
What a
time, it's therefore
segue.
historic. It's got to be kept the same. The old Pirelli building, it's empty. And they got some people they think who want to build a hotel there.
Mm.
Now, I'm not an expert in these things. Some people think we're under-hoteled, meaning that there could be a lot more rooms filled if we build them.
Mhm.
So, but every time someone wants to build a hotel, the union that controls local government, Unite Here, they want to make sure that the workers get paid enough, which I think is fair, right? If we get jobs here, you want to be able to live on them.
Mhm.
But they never tell you that's what we're up to. They find ways to stop these hotels until they get an agreement. We're going to hire people, neutrality agreements, they get a union. So anyway, so IKEA says we're going to put a hotel here. We didn't even need any laws passed. They needed approval of their site plan at the City Plan Commission. So they go City Plan Commission, routine thing. All of a sudden, the Unite Here people in politics come. They spend an hour arguing over this new issue that had no basis in law. They said, well, actually, for the last hundreds of years, they had site plans approved here, but now we think the Board of Alders, which Unite Here controls, should have to say whether you can have a site plan. And they tried to get them not to vote on it. And usually that's been working. And here's something, the HARP administration...
You had so much shade, I feel like I'm in a forest.
So the HARP administration, which wants this hotel built, wimped out because they're worried Unite Here with an election coming up isn't going to be formed. So they say, oh, gee, this is an important issue. Let's talk about it, right? So you think that'd be the end of it. But the City Plan Commission has its own rights under law. So they had a staff member that said, this is bogus.
And
There's
Leslie
like no
Radcliffe
basis
was
of
like,
law.
we should vote.
I said, are you kidding? Like, this is the law. It's like if you say, you're going to put money in a parking meter, that doesn't mean all of a sudden you got to put a wooden token. So
I can imagine Leslie Radcliffe's face too, because
So they spent an hour arguing about it.
Nah, we're
but the city
voting.
plan had a legal opinion, and the lawyer, a local guy named Jim Sogoloff, he's kind of a bruiser, he said, we're fighting this one.
Oh, he
Let's
loves
talk
city
about it.
plan.
Let's just talk
He goes
about
and
it.
puts on a show every
So
time.
they actually got it passed so that they got their site plan approved, so they find someone to build the hotel. They can now go build a hotel, although, stay tuned, you never know what other things there were. Here's the thing that gets me. I'm disagreeing with everyone on this debate. Like, some people may be saying, like, all you people with the union who are in politics, what right do you have to say that you should have your neutrality agreement if you want to come to New Haven and have New Haven jobs? And I say, I think they have a decent argument. If we're going to have development and we're going to give you the right to create jobs and build, we want to make sure people can live on those jobs, so you want a union. But they never admit that's what they're doing. So we end up having these fights over BS that have nothing to do with what they say they're fighting about. And then, so then the people on the other side have a legitimate cause to say this isn't working in the best interest of the city. I'm just trying to wonder, maybe I'm naive. Maybe it's just understood, because I'm told that it is understood. If you want to build a hotel in New Haven, they know you have to go with the union and do a neutrality agreement. And all the hotel chains are saying, we can't afford to do that because of competition. Our rates will be too high. It'll cost us many more dollars a night to house people with a union, especially in the, we won't make any money on food service. So a lot of people aren't building. We have 3 sites, really, whether it's Live, Work, and Play or the Webster Bank thing might happen. We had a couple other sites where hotels didn't get built. And the feeling is that it's just understood that has to happen. What do you guys think about this whole question? Because I think it's complicated.
You want to know if the city needs hotels or not?
I'm not sure if it does. I mean, we are
I'll tell
building
you one
some.
way you can tell. Just look at the Airbnb
Oh,
site.
that's what I was about to say.
You
And
look at
New
it-
Haven is like the highest place for
one of the-
Airbnb rentals in the state.
in the state. Airbnb,
Now, would that change if we had hotels? Do people like Airbnbs better than hotels?
It
no,
might.
but it might. It just goes to show there's a need for
For
space.
someplace to stay.
It's
Yeah.
someplace to stay.
Well, that's good information.
And
Yeah.
quality places to stay.
Right.
You know, not the seedy motel kind
And
of.
actually, you're right, because developers have been telling the city, we want to put hotels up, but then they say we don't know about this thing where apparently where they say, I don't know though if we have to pay union wages. How about the part I sympathize with Unite here, the union, about? Do you think we should say, Norma, that you can't come in here unless you have union jobs? Because I think maybe the reason they're not honest about it is because maybe there are legal problems. If you use, some people say you can't use government to advance the union agenda legally, to deny the right of people to build based on a separate issue. So maybe that's the reason they can't tell the truth. I have a problem with politics that doesn't tell the truth, but I understand that. But Norma, what do you think about the basic question of whether we should say, okay, we won't get the hotels if people can't make a living wage?
I think that doesn't really matter. What matters here is that the unions control the votes in the Board of Alders. As long as they control the votes, I think the discussion is mute. If you have the votes, vote. And basically, they're going to have the vote all the time, even if it's to a detriment to projects and programs.
That's what I'm asking. Do you think it's the detriment? That's what people disagree
I tell you
with.
what, I don't like putting the union in a villain role.
Me either.
I think that's unfair.
Me either.
I said, because you know what? If the unions did not exist, people would run
God.
roughshod.
We wouldn't have 8-hour day.
They'd have 5-year-olds toting bricks.
We'd be slaves.
Yeah, totally.
So let's not put the unions in villains,
Right.
Because they are trying to sort of carry out what we say we want. We want people to have a living wage. We want people to have access to jobs
Right.
that would allow them to live with some humanity and dignity. So what's the problem with that? So maybe government cannot sort of come out and say we endorse this, but government can say that we want our citizens to have access to opportunities that will strengthen their families. That's what we say. So why can't we be about that in the ways that give everybody the win-win?
So you and I actually,
If the
Babs,
money's
agree
not
on
there, if the money is not there, then how can you do it?
The money is there. If you listen, let me tell you something. If you're a developer and you coming to build something, you got some money somewhere. So you're not gonna you cannot be a developer and don't have any money.
So Babs, I agree with that. The reason what they hear is that if we're a big company, we build hotels everywhere. We're not going to go to a place where we can't make money. So they're saying they can't make money day to day if they pay union wages because other hotels don't in the area. I think the answer from the labor movement, but unfortunately they feel they can't tell the truth about what they're up to because they be accused of misusing government to do that, is that therefore you have to organize the whole industry. And you say until everybody's paying union wages, nobody gets to build. Now, they don't have that kind of power. They have it in New Haven. They have it in New York. They have it in Chicago. They don't have it in Milford. They don't have it in West Haven. They don't have it in places where these.
Yeah, but they're not building it. They don't want to be in Milford and West Haven.
Some
and
of them are
those places.
fine. I mean, they can build a hotel. There
Well,
are a lot of hotels
then-
you go right over the line.
Then let them go do that and take their hit, take their peddle your wares there. Then,
but then people get paid less and the jobs don't come to New Haven.
but that can't be New Haven's concern. New Haven's concern has to be New Haven's concern. West Haven has a whole municipality. They've got If West Haven's mayor aligned themselves with New Haven's mayor, with East Haven's mayor, if all these towns align themselves with the larger city of New Haven, then they would come out better. Then they would get for their citizens what they deserve rather than crumbs and piecemeal.
And I think that our mayor's been working very well with those mayors on a number of issues. Like when we didn't fight West Haven Crossings, we thought we'd get jobs out of that too, and that's not necessarily development we want to have here. I think when it comes to this labor issue, in New Haven, you can't become mayor, it seems like, or it's hard to unless you have the backing of this union. So therefore, you're going to do what they want you to do, whereas in West Haven, Milford, they don't have that same political reality.
Yeah, but here's the thing: when you phrase it that way, but what they want you to do is the right thing to do. It's not some.
Yeah.
It's not some thing that doesn't benefit citizens. It's not like it's some ridiculous, outrageous thing. It is to the benefit of the citizens of this city.
And then another question becomes the short-term local benefit versus our broader national benefit. So New Haven doesn't benefit citizens if the hotels don't get built and the jobs aren't created. But the larger fight is to try to nationally organize these hotels so that you can't pit community against community and keep the wages down. So that is a short-term sacrifice for a long-term national gain. I don't know that we're up front with the voters in New Haven in discussing what we're actually doing.
I don't know. I think people who know anything about organized labor understand this game. I don't think there's anybody out there who is like feeling like the wool is being pulled over their eyes. Not in this particular town, because we've had union involvement from Yale to the hospital, from the university to the hospital, to government, to outside developers. So we've been in this struggle for the better part of the history of this city. So even when Mayor Lee was in power, all the things that got built under his leadership, and some of those things were terrible things, right? So I think people in the city understand organized labor better than anybody else outside of the city.
Okay, if you live in the city, you also know you're listening to Pundit Friday. WNHH 103.5 FM, your home for community radio. Live stream New Haven Independent.
I love
Talking about love, a lot of people have spoken very positively about a guy who works for city government named Jason Bartlett. We think he does a lot of things to help youth in the city. I think he has actually had a hand in, I would argue, lowering the level of violence.
Yes.
In Hallville, those youth programs.
Yes.
He's in a little bit of hot water. I don't know how much, based on an article today in the Independent.
Uh-oh.
Wait, what happened?
He gets grants that go through his office. He wants to use services division.
Right.
There's an article in the Independent today that he gave $35,000 of those state and federal grants to a very nice woman who works in his office on staff and handles the paperwork for grants. Without a bid or anything, he gave her contracts from the federal government for a nonprofit that she founded and operates out of her home in West Haven.
Ouch.
So, and he defends it. So it's $35,000, and it's a really wonderful woman, and she has a gospel choir.
Mm-hmm.
He hired that gospel choir to go buy food and supplies for poor kids in New Hallville and try to help them find some jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And the article we have raises real questions, ethics rules, whether you can, and they were no bid, and the people in New Hallville, part of it came from something called the Burn Grant that's supposed to be reviewed with the neighborhood. And Jason Bartlett says, look, I was short-term needing some money. They were a nonprofit who could handle it. They're totally honest. And we went through all the books. Nobody was like pocketing money for themselves or being greedy. These are good people. And he says, that's, we got help the people real quick. Other people have raised questions about whether you can use federal and state money with, like, whether that's a conflict of interest. If someone's reporting to you on a government job and you just hand them and they handle the paperwork and say, here's a grant, no oversight. And whether, some of that money went to a group that actually doesn't do that kind of work generally. Mm-hmm. And, like there was money for food for a program where there was already a federal food program. So it's kind of messy. And the experts we spoke to did say that, you really can't do that in government. You can't run a department with an employee there and just say, here, sign this, you'll get a grant, and we'll give you $35,000.
Right. I understand when it comes down to the formalities of it. I really do. And, this. But I also got to remember this. Sometimes if it wasn't for my personal advancements in life, I wouldn't have been able to, if I actually had to turn my private resources to help kids get meals.
But if you ran a government agency, could you give a contract to someone in the office with you?
I understand that, but I'm also understanding because I know Jason, he's an underground kind of guy. He's underground.
He's a get it down. He's a get it done guy.
He's underground, and he sees these kids, and he sees them for where they stand in the moment. And he see them as being hungry. He see them as being homeless. He goes through that. And, one of the things he always thanked me for is like, Joe, I just so appreciate you just pushing stuff forward. Before you even get anything, and the city does give you a little stipend to help me back with it, But for the bulk of what I do, heck no.
Any other thoughts?
I look at this thing as, and I know how you have to go in and knowing Jason Bartlett and know how he goes, how he sees this stuff. And I'm not making excuses. No, I don't want to be a spokesman, in other words. But I know how he is about stuff and how he feels about it.
Yeah, no one's questioning his commitment to helping young people.
Yeah, but I also going to preface it by saying, or should I say extend it by saying, I know there are certain questions of how you use state and federal dollars.
I'm glad I'm not in government. I would actually stink in his job or anyone's job. I'm someone who just likes to go do something.
Right.
Let's go do it. And there are a whole nother layer. There's a whole nother layer of rules and practices in government. That's a different kind of scrutiny.
And I'm sure he's probably going to take a little bit of a hit for this because you know what, the rules are the rules are the rules.
Right.
And if we don't like the rules, then we change the rules.
But look how much you got to go through just to change that rule to make sure that kid get that meal.
I feel you because listen,
it's not like he's taking the money and doing the private stuff.
Listen,
right. Our reporter checked, and no one's pocketing money.
I know Jason, but I also know how petty this town can be.
Too petty.
And I know how people will feel like they want to drag him through the streets and all this
Right.
other kind of stuff, whatever. And you know what? He's not afraid of that. Like, he's like, listen,
Bring it.
here, bring it. Share the light of the day. And then, this is what I want to see happen. It's out there now. Let him, if they need to bring him in front of hearings or whatever, do all that mess. But don't be punitive with this stuff.
Mean or
don't-
personal.
Like, don't make it personal.
Right.
Don't try to nail him to the cross. Don't try to do any of that stuff. Hear what it is, and then make the decisions accordingly, and be done with it.
Were you
so
suggesting that politics sometimes gets petty and personal and away from what the underlying issues are? You're blowing my mind today.
Right.
First, this thing about
Yes.
like white people, and then
Potato salad.
Babs, I
No.
don't know how to take all this in.
But you know what? Thinking about it, and I think it's been a flaw in the Latino and the African American nonprofits. Okay, if you will look, you go to their programs, what they got their monies for, and everything. Whenever you go there physically to observe them and monitor them, you will see that a lot of people are getting services.
Right.
Okay, but they're not good in paperwork. Yet you will see that the people that are perfect in paperwork, everything is exactly the way
And
the rules and
zero
regulations.
services.
You go over there and there's nothing
No,
being
sir.
done.
Exactly.
Word.
You're absolutely right.
Word.
You're
You're absolutely right.
so to me, when I begin, because a lot of times when I hear these stories, I begin to put myself, if that had been me, how would I have handled it? And the truth is, you wanted somebody that you know, even though they work close to you, if you know that that person has those skills that and to be able to give you the most for the money that you're giving them. So I am sure that those $35,000 that were given, that I don't even know who the woman is or anything, but I am sure that they're getting a lot more. Okay, than the 35,000 that are being given to her.
You know, that's what I was saying.
People were
The-
wondering why
the-
a choir was doing those jobs.
But the choir could deliver stuff. That
It's called
that
a
choir
choir.
might. Thank you. It's called. But even if it is a choir, the
Okay.
choir might have.
No, I'm
vehicles.
with you.
Would we
No,
I
feel
have no-
better if it was like clowns?
Yeah,
I'm just trying
exactly.
No, but it wasn't choir. Anyway, I have total faith in that woman. She's a very good person, a lot of
let's
integrity.
not go by the title here.
Yeah.
Let's go by how do they deliver. Does the choir get together and go out and they move in a group? They have automobiles so they could get to the neighborhood so they can help. They can get the kids to, I don't know what were the services that's being
Marquisha, you
involved.
going to touch this one or we move on?
Please.
I'm good.
All right. So, Marquisha, what I wanted to ask you about was
Keisha was good on that
the
one. I'm
district
scared.
ballroom. So you and I have been watching everybody that there's been this big to-do about the new venue, music venue or performance venue that's under the Crown Street Garage next to the Schubert there on College, right? And for months, there's been a big fight about who it's been empty. Who is gonna get the lease from the parking authority to run a music venue there? And there was one proposal that all the people who make decisions wanted to succeed, from the Schubert and the Albertus Magnus and Long Wharf, all the like good people in New Haven, what he likes, kind of people Norm was just talking about, who know how to like have all the paperwork and considered responsible, community minded. And they had a proposal to do like sort of a bunch of little performance venues and theaters there. But they didn't want to come close to the kind of money the city said it needed to bring in, and they were going to have to spend a whole year raising money, maybe get it, maybe not, to start the venue. And then you had across the street people who run the College Street Music Hall, wildly successful place. I went to a great concert there this week with a group called I'm With Her, this trio of women that just blowing it out. They're great. And they just said, hey, we'll move right in there. No time. We'll pay you all your money. We'll get it fixed up the way we did the music hall. We got all the acts ready to come in. It's going to be hopping. For months, there were efforts to stop them from getting it because the feeling was, you know what music industry people are like, quote unquote, like they don't seem like our kind of people, a little scruffy. Don't know if we trust them. But in the end, the commission had a vote 4-0 this week to give it to them because one part was going to get us the money and the traffic and the activity, and the other part really wasn't ready to produce. Although everyone agrees, and I do too, that other group can do very well in space that's available in another garage across from the Criterion. But the contract still has to be signed and negotiated, and there's some feeling that it's going to be subverted at that part. I don't know what you guys think. Thoughts?
My thoughts are, as long
Yeah, who
as
did you
there
want to
wa-
see go in there?
So
Joe?
the cool people got it, right?
Yeah.
The cooler.
I would
All
like
right, then I rest my case.
No,
That's all.
I just want to make sure
The
that
deeper
uh,
pockets guy.
first of all, I would like to see
cooler.
that it's a space
Not deeper
that,
pockets, the people who like access to get it done. I'm
Like,
sorry,
and
Joe.
those are the people that are the
They have
state house
access to
people
the
and
deeper
the.
pockets.
They're like the stairs. They're not the same people. They run the College Street Music Hall. They run the Space Ballroom.
Oh yeah,
And they're
They-
big concert
they know what
promoters
they're
of the whole
doing,
state.
though.
Yeah, they get the groups coming. I mean, they came in no time and got the College Street Music Hall ready, and they've been getting acts in there all the time. And,
Yeah, good acts. I mean,
Yeah.
I've seen quite a few cool
Yeah,
things over at
I've seen my
college.
best concerts there, not counting Cafe
what is going to
9.
be the focus of this venue?
It's It's going to be a lot of different kinds of music, smaller audiences than can fit the music hall, larger than can fit the clubs on Crown.
It would be great if they can have if the push is for independent artists. I think it would be a great push, and I'm not just talking in
They're
the
not
hip hop
doing
R&B. I'm talking about
They're going with whoever they think can draw some money into the space.
well, no, if they promote it right, if they help with the promotion of it and they
Yeah.
back the promotion of it, they can.
Don't
they
you
can
think
really
that
do
this
it.
is Manic Mark and that whole thing in Premier Management? Don't you think they have a pretty good network of independent artists? I see a lot of their stuff like in Hamden.
I mean, as long as I see some color.
Exactly?
Yeah.
Like,
And
I
that's
really-
the only way
That
you're
that
gonna
I don't
see
know.
color.
Are you
That's-
seeing it at College Street Music Hall?
I mean,
I
Not
didn't
that
see
much.
any people
I
of
saw
color
Ziggy
there
Marley.
this week.
well, actually,
Esperanza Spalding, Miguel was there.
Yeah.
Like, there have been people. of
Tower
color.
of Power.
And
Oh,
isn't
I
it-
see you guys having to go through this vicious Rolodex here and skipping through because you can't remember whom. It
No,
was
they
so
remember.
few and
I
far.
thought
remember.
I knew.
Well, no. You know what? Here's the thing. A lot of the black artists that come through there are not artists necessarily. It's not the kind of music I necessarily dig. So that's why I can't.
But they have
recall.
been doing a good job of making sure there's diversity in the kind
And
of
they've
acts
had
they
all
get.
kind. They've had all kind. I mean, they had a guy from Paris, a Parisian artist there. They've had. You know, they have all kinds of. They had indigenous people there. Like, you know, they have all kinds of people. So if you want a different kind of music experience, then that would be the place to go. If
Well,
you
no,
wanna,
you know the state house does pretty much the same thing.
I
They have-
haven't been over there.
Yeah,
yet.
they've been happening. They've been
Yeah.
real
Oh,
international.
I know.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm
the State House.
it's just that you know what, I'm 55, and sometimes.
Just wait to get to 58, then you'll really be over the hill. Hey, you know
Knock
where
it
else?
off. I'm gonna be
Marquisha
56
saw
next
quite a
month.
show this week. Marquisha saw the fireworks show. Marquisha
Sorry, what?
was at City Hall
What did I do?
when for the 20, I think
Oh,
we're on the
okay. I was like,
150th
what?
time or the 1,000th time since
1,000th.
2013. The Board of Alders said,
Oh.
we are required by referendum that we put on the ballot. We had this idea, and the voters said, yes, give us a real civilian review board that has teeth to
We're
monitor
still
the police.
talking about that after
We
all this
are,
time.
because every few years they say, okay, now we're going to do it. And they come up with an idea, and they still don't do that fundamental task of giving it any power to do anything. So now they said, now we're going to do it. They brought it up again, and they said, now we have a proposal that's going to work. What happened, Marquise?
They're going to advance something that does not appear to have any power.
Were people happy about
yet
that?
again.
They were not.
Yet again.
My favorite thing apart what you're reporting and the other reporting was that the police chief and assistant chief came, and they're usually
Yeah,
the
they
people
did.
saying, don't
they
be too hard on the
came and
police.
said, give us a civilian review board, but give us one that the public trusts.
Yeah,
We
so
don't care whether it has subpoena power or not. Just give us one that they trust, and we'll abide by it.
That was an interesting argument,
That's an
saying, you know,
interesting
like usually
argument.
the cops say don't have subpoena power, and they said
yet and
the bigger
still.
issue is trust. Now, some of the alders legitimately, honestly say we can't give you the subpoena power, and
I still don't understand.
I don't understand it
argument.
either because they've had legal opinions from John Rose, the Corporation Council, ACLU.
And I don't know if they
and other
have it,
cities
they
do.
don't talk about it, and they've never like publicly presented it. But the draft of the current ordinance that they're looking at passing, I think, was drafted by Norm Pattis, and so I don't know if Norm Pattis gave them advice that says you guys don't have the authority.
I
to
guess
give
no,
them.
it's
I
not
don't
like
know.
him. He's usually coming after police, although he also
Yeah.
he represents cops who get
So
brought up.
I mean, so I don't know if he suggested to them that they don't have that somehow you need to go to the state to make a law that, but I don't know, and I
but
don't
like
want
the
to put it on
president of
him
the Board
because
of
he's never
Alders,
said that
Taisha
either.
Walker, her position has subpoena power, so that could be granted to the committee.
Mhm.
I've always
Board
felt,
of Police
and
Commissioner.
I know that nobody's going to do this. I think you should just change the Board of Police Commissioner that exists that has subpoena power that in the 70s used it to uncover the wiretapping
Well, yeah,
scandal.
the Board of Police
You were
Commissioners
commissioner.
does have
So
subpoena
turn
powers.
that into a
but
real
so does the
civilian-
Board of Aldermen.
But not this committee. They're saying, yeah, so but what if you made a committee of the police commissioners and call it the Civilian Review Board and name it in a way that politics isn't in it and have them just work it through them?
I don't.
I guess I don't understand
No,
why.
Babs, I listened to what Babs
and the
says. She was on
well,
the commission.
I just want to say this: the question that I asked, and I don't think I got no one had a good response from me, which was, you know, why not just go ahead and say that this has subpoena power, and if they use it, like if they like, I think Greg Greenberg said this, like if they get sued, so what? Like people can
Well,
sue
you want
for
to
any
set it up
reason.
right, but they were given examples of how to do it. For instance,
Exactly.
the part of all this president could designate someone the power on there, or you can go to the police commission, or you know, there's all sorts of ways.
all of
to
these
do
ways to do it. So like to just not do it, like they didn't even attempt. Like, you know, Abby Roth, downtown Alder Abby Roth tried to, you know, make an amendment that would have put that language in there, and they voted against it.
The politics that is so interesting to me because you had largely people of color who are upset about this and want the subpoena power. The Board of Alders majority, very progressive, has a lot of people of color. Then you have these 4 white alders who are always sort of the dissenters.
Even though Alder Brackeen
Oh, and then he joined them.
for this.
So they're the dissenters, but they're the ones who were holding firm for the subpoena power. One of them is Steve Winters, who got arrested at the Elevate raid of police misconduct and has been pushing for this for years. I don't totally understand the politics of this yet about why that majority is failing on this one.
I don't.
Because they don't have. I don't know what the self-interest.
I mean, I
of
think
being
they should
them
do it because
failing
this is what I know to be true. They could. The fight is not going to be this. The fight is going to be who's going to be on that civilian review board.
They're fighting about that too.
And the time that is going to require, because people don't understand the time
It's
that
work.
is going to be required to sort of do these things. And listen, if you think that you're going to get on the civilian review board and be about the business of like teasing out bad cops or abusive cops or whatever, do you know how long this is going to take? Like, this is not going to be a walk in the park. Like, it's going to be, and unions are going to push back on this hard. And the city cannot afford the level of lawsuits that are going to come. See, they're not doing this work. They're not doing that conversation. Everybody's like, oh, we want a civilian review board. Who's going to sit on this thing?
That's why I'd like to see them do it through the police commission.
The police commission is already a civilian review board. There are no cops that sit on the board of police commissioners. These people are volunteering their time. No one gets paid to be a police commissioner. You show up to these meetings, you have to take all these damn cases home and review them and read them and rule on them as a body. It is exhausting. And so I think people need to get their minds around what they think they really want this civilian review board to do.
And I think on top of that, like, there has to be some recognition. Like, yes, there are groups of people who are really pushing for a civilian review board. And like you said about who gets on, again, that the role of the civilian review board isn't going to be to just represent the people who are kind of constantly mad with the police. Like, they have to represent, like, they have to be a independent body, not just independent from the police department, but independent from the people in a particular way.
Right.
So, like, you know,
some of the harshest critics of the cops were actually suggesting having someone in law
But what
enforcement
happens
on
when the
panel.
cops say, I want this to go in front of the civilian review board?
Yeah.
What happens
Do you
when
know?
that happens?
You know what cops I've been hearing from most about misconduct? The conservative cops who think the press is too mean on cops. They still want the bad cops spoken about. They still want bad police behavior brought up and dealt with. I'm sure you know that from your experience, Babs. That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
So it is a lot of work. So maybe at the end of one of those long nights, Markeisha went somewhere this week that maybe might be a fun place to chill out. Next door. Now, Jocelyn Square is that cool little mini neighborhood with a lot of history
I know where
by
all the fun
Wallace
places
Street
are.
in Humphrey. It used to be Humphrey's East. It was back in days of Humphrey Bar. It's a new place now with wood-fired a pizza and beer. What's the deal there? It's all kind of yuppie.
Is there
and
any
stuff.
vegan pizza there?
Unclear.
cheese?
You have to
Okay.
check. But I will say that the
We're gonna
space,
have to
like,
still
if you
go a few
haven't
blocks
been
away
in the
to
old
our
Humphreys,
place. Yeah.
like, they've really tricked out the space. It's really,
Really?
It's a nice joint.
Nice. They have 2 bars. So in that back section where there used to be kind of like an open space where you could throw a party, like, it's all tricked out. There's a new bar back there. That's where the pizza oven is, and so they have all the seating back there, and then they have that center that kind of connects the 2 spaces, the up front and the back. There, all of that's all tricked out with seating, and then up front you have a whole nother bar. So, like, it could easily
So
hold
it's a
like
restaurant,
maybe a couple
it's a
hundred
bar.
people.
It's got that, it's that green truck pizza. I forget what
Yeah,
it's called.
it's Big Green Truck Pizza.
And they have wonderful, that was Doug
But
Coffin's thing.
that place has changed.
Oh yeah.
How
Remember when
many
it was
times?
a biker bar?
It's
I mean,
it was a speakeasy at some point in
It's
history.
very
Like, it was.
expensive,
Right.
you know, to really, because the place is so big,
Mm-hmm.
it's
Right.
very expensive.
Well,
the
they
upkeep.
expanded it
and
and
their
make it so
prices
big.
are not that competitive.
Actually, the prices are really good. Actually, so, like, you know how you can blow the bank down here, down. It's very. I talked to one of the owners, and she said, you can get out of here for under $20. Like, you don't have to spend it all here. If you want to, you can. It's here. Like, there are things for you to spend your money on. But if you want to get out of here on a pizza,
We're talking about the
20
drink
bucks.
prices.
They have cheap drinks. Like, they have your kind of standard $3, and they have drink specials. Like, so, like, you're not spending $15 on a cocktail unless knocking them back. Like, it really is kind of more. It's got a good neighborhood pricing. I think that's very. I
Their
think it's very
wines go for
competitive.
$8-9.
Hey, now you got some good
Yeah, wine
prices.
That's a
does?
lot of money.
No,
for
the-
White Zinfandel.
Under the new owner?
How long have these people been here?
Since
They just
June.
opened in. Well,
Since
this
the
place
summer.
just opened in June.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh,
They
since
did
then?
ribbon cutting this
because,
week.
I go everywhere that's new.
Oh,
Yes,
man.
sure. If it's open,
You must-
Norma's been there.
Norma's at her prayer meeting.
No, Norma, I'm sorry to say. I
You
think
gotta go during happy hour, Norma.
I guess so.
Norma,
You can't be
I
going
think-
after you
I
put
think
the
you got
paper
the
to
Latino
bed.
price. I think you got the Latino price, Norma. Because when I was in there last August, and the prices was all right. I mean, it was 4 of us, and the prices was pretty good.
Well, you know what the
I
best
thought it was
prices
good.
are for the next week or two. If you want to buy a bong or some rolling papers,
Oh gosh, that rubber
you go to
match.
Rubber Match. 40,
They're closing.
45 years
They've been
on
closing
Whaley.
for 20 years. What
They
is
really
it?
are this time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the guy's like ran out of money.
Going out of
He's had a
business.
foreclosure.
It's good
He's had an
for business.
eviction. He's done.
We
Which is
done
amazing.
seen- I
'cause
done seen this.
We're on the cusp.
Okay.
I'm trying to
of-
go in there. I need like a dresser or something.
I brought my son's mattresses out of there.
They're having a going out of business sale, and people are.
I need a roach clip.
Yeah, people are nostalgic. It's interesting because most of the time it's been there.
Not for me, for a friend.
They've been
Asking for a friend.
they've been the underground place sort of where everyone goes. They used to get the mixing powder for cocaine during the crack thing. You remember that? I was like, yeah.
What?
Anyway,
Paul, I do not know anything about that.
okay. So in any case,
Really?
they're going out of
Gas
business.
scales?
But now with marijuana about to become legal, they could have cashed in if they had hung in. But it could be
Right.
another year or two. The guy's brother, George Zito's brother, is trying to hang in because when legal marijuana happens, it might be another year or two. All of a sudden there'll be a place. But they said they couldn't compete. They were big on futons and IKEA happened. They're big on drug paraphernalia. Now you got the internet, which you can't really compete with. It's kind of a bummer. You actually
Like you
can
can
stay
get
home.
a bong online.
Yeah. So they're out. But any nice memories of that place? Any feelings about it?
I mean, it has been part
Harry
of the
CBD oil.
It has been part of the land. Remember the commercials, Paul? Remember
Yeah.
when they were doing those cheesy commercials?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And all
the
of
water
that?
beds.
Yeah. So
And they ran a waterbed in the bed race in New Haven,
And
not
it
trying to
burst.
win. Yeah, it
yes,
burst, yeah.
yes,
So
yes.
funny. They
I
had to
know.
ban putting water. Like if you buy a water bed from us, do not use it in the bed race.
Oh, my
I
favorite
think
thing
that's
was
so
to go there
funny.
and you see all those little roach clips with like feathers and all those kinds of things. And I remember going in there when I was a kid and feeling like, oh, I know I shouldn't be in here.
I remember that too.
Like, this is not where I'm supposed to be.
It does.
Funny.
It does feel like a den of
Yeah, but
iniquity
it's
when you're.
really sad because those kind of places
Yeah.
don't exist anymore.
Right.
So it was like a really good history, you know?
I remember.
It's just one of those things that makes New Haven, right?
I was a member of St. Andrew's Church, and the other Episcopal church with choir would
St.
go over
Luke's,
to
next
St.
door.
Luke's, which is right next door. And I was thirsty, so I figured I'll run next door and I'll get a drink. And
Bong water.
My mom was like, she went with Raw Trini. Where's Junior? He went next door to where's next door? Oh my God!
Did she come in?
Beat
Your
you all the way
mom.
out the store.
Your mom didn't hold back, so she go in.
That was my memory of Rubber Match. It's like,
Did you get something to drink?
I was gonna say, did they
Yeah.
sell drinks in there?
no, they were like. At least I didn't get to find out. Mom was in.
Just beat you
Where
out the
you,
store.
Junior? Where you? Come out to here. Come. At that point, I was like, what, 11, 12 years old? She was, get out of here. She grabbed my hand. But hey.
So what about next week, folks? We'll be off for Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Any
Speaking
plans?
of St. Luke's, if I could just interject, I want to just give a shout out to the Glover family.
That's right. Teddy
Aunt
Glover
Teddy
died.
Glover.
Yes.
She made it to 90.
That's right.
Yeah.
She made it to 90. I was a pallbearer because, she is like an aunt to me.
She was a great
and
woman.
is a great woman out of New Hartville, known as probably the queen of New Hartville.
She was an older.
And
She
she-
did a lot of child
Yep.
care policy. With
She
the city.
started daycare, child care as
Right.
they did on back in '61, the first in the state. So there's a lot that she has done so much, and I just wanted to recognize.
Thank you.
And her
Recognize.
obituary is in the inner city this week.
That's
All
right.
right, check
it's
it
also
out.
on New Haven Independent.
Yep.
Look,
Check it out in the inner city.
Yep.
we got the inner city.
Thanks.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Any great
You're
Thanksgiving plans or wishes from anybody? Norma, about?
I'm giving thanks and getting out of town.
Where you going?
The La
Crazy.
Voz and New Haven family won't be here on Wednesday.
What's that? Oh, we got a potluck here?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Potluck.
That's right. I did get a text.
And make sure that the potatoes you bring
are cooked.
are too.
Anybody
Look.
thankful?
Babs is gonna tell you about yourself if that potato salad is wrong.
Harry Droz.
Harry.
What is Harry Droz thankful for?
I guess breathing.
Reading's good.
Hey, God.
No, I'll tell you what I'm thankful.
Thankful that his
I'm-
president isn't indicted yet.
Yeah, really.
Shots.
I was
No,
wondering
but-
if we're going to get out of here without one reference.
Shots.
But
fired.
Paul, I am going to be thankful for you and all of your.
I'm thankful for you, Joe.
No, I'm dead serious.
I am
man.
too. I'm double dead
No,
serious.
man, you just saying that because I said it.
But I'm just saying it because you said it that I said it.
See how men do?
Listen,
Happy
I just
Thanksgiving, Marquisha.
Happy Thanksgiving, ladies.
No, it's gotta be a
Thanksgiving, and everyone that's
competition.
listening to us.
It's a
well,
mess.
wish has got to be. I am grateful, Joe Ugly. I'm grateful for Babs Rolls Ivy. I'm grateful for Norma Rodriguez Reyes. I'm grateful for Marquisha Ricks and Harry Jaros. And I'm grateful to everyone who listened to this episode
And
of
we're
Pundit
grateful
Friday.
to Paul Bass.
So thank you for being with us. Another great season. And we're going to take it out with the Afro-Semitic Experience performing I Wish I Knew How It Would Feel to Be Free from the group CD, A Plea for Peace. Now we know what it's like to be free. We just got to remember to book our flight. Fly free with us all weekend long here at WNHH,
Norma's like, I'm be ready to say
New
it this
Haven's
time.
home for community radio.